I'm delighted to say that Ruth Lea, an advisor to Arbuthnot Banking Group, who's worked at the Treasury during Britain's financial crisis in the mid-1970s, is there. Is here to join us today. Ruth, we saw there at the very end of that report that kind of double act between the deputy and the new Prime Minister. How much... It seems like they've managed to get on at the moment, but there's an awful lot of difference in the detail, and that really matters when you're in coalition, doesn't it? Oh, it is, but of course there are pluses and minuses of this, because on the one hand there will be frictions because they have different objectives, and they are different parties, let's be honest about this. But on the other hand, we are where we are. There was a hung parliament last Friday, and I think for Cameron to have a full coalition with the Lib Dems at this stage is probably the most sensible thing to do, because he really had to get an overall majority in the House of Commons and tackle what is the worst crisis facing the country, and that is about public borrowing. And now he's got the Lib Dems on side, he can share the blame. He certainly can, but it's going to be difficult to see Vince Cable and George Osborne working together. That looks like the relationship that might be the most fractious, if you like. Well, I think it is. Of course, before the election, we just saw a bit of the chancellors there having a good bit of political bank bashing, because, of course, bankers are even less popular than politicians these days, or less popular than journalists, if I may say so. But I think the truth, it's tough. But the truth is, I think they have to be very, very careful now they're in government to make sure the banking system actually thrives and survives, because it is vitally important that we have a really good banking system to help the recovery. Indeed not. The Liberal Democrat manifesto really bashed the banks in terms of levies, in terms of bonuses. I have to say, not many people paid much attention to it because we couldn't imagine them in government, but how much of that is actually going to end up coming into being? Well, the answer is, of course, at the moment we simply don't know, but I think particularly it does look as though there's going to be some sort of levy, whether it's going to be an increase in corporation tax. Does that worry you? It does, or I think that was Lib Dem's idea, or whether it's going to be a levy on balance sheets. But, you know, I think you've got to be very, very careful about this, because we don't want to lose our international competitiveness. The city is very, very important to this economy. In any case, do you really want to be damaging the bank's profitability at a time when you actually want them to lend money? Now, what did you think of Mervyn King's endorsement of the budget deficit plan yesterday? Unusual. Well, I was very pleased to see it, because, of course, before the election again, Mervyn King was making it very clear he thought that Alistair Darling wasn't moving quick enough on this. And he said the biggest challenge facing the economy will be fiscal consolidation. So to say they've actually agreed on the £6 billion cut for this year was a thumbs up. And the markets was a bit of a thumbs up yesterday, because the gilts did actually improve a little, not terrifically, but a little. What's the next thing that we're waiting for? The emergency budget? The budget. And I think there it will be, the markets will be focusing very, very, very closely on this one, in a way they didn't with the last one, let's be honest about this, because they will be looking to George Osborne, with David Laws, his deputy, his Lib Dem deputy, to come up with some very serious proposals about getting on top of this deficit. Ruth, extraordinary times. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed.